Okay, good morning, everyone. I am thrilled to have everyone with us this morning. My name is Mara Leff. I'm the Director of Innovation at the Jewish Healthcare Foundation, and I lead the Liftoff PGH program. We are on day 2 of this exciting 2-week journey for our region. We had a great first day yesterday, and today we're thrilled with the programming that is on the slate for you all. Today, I'm thrilled to have our partner in crime, Sean Luther, moderate this session. He and his team at InnovatePGH has been with the Liftoff team from the beginning of this journey and have been absolutely incredible partners in bringing this to life. So without further ado, I will not take up any more of your time. I just wanted to say welcome from the Liftoff team. And Sean, thank you for being here, and I'll let you take it from here.
Thanks, Mara. Good morning, everyone. And as Mara said, welcome to day 2 of Liftoff PGH. My name is Sean Luther. I'm the Executive Director of InnovatePGH. And thanks to support from the Hillman Foundation, we are very excited to have the Pittsburgh Innovation District sponsor Liftoff this year and really allow us to deliver this exciting 3-part webinar program focused on Pittsburgh's rise as a life sciences hub, and in fact, as the #1 emerging life sciences market in the US, according to CBRE. Joining me today shortly and currently off screen are our partners in crime, in addition to the JHF team, Kyle Cintalopoli at the Pittsburgh Regional Alliance and Evan Facher at the University of Pittsburgh's Innovation Institute. What we're going to do today is really 2 different and interlocked pieces of the program. Kyle's going to take us first into a deep dive of what is happening in Pittsburgh's life science ecosystem, the foundational strengths of the University of Pittsburgh, UPMC, and our other healthcare innovators. And that's going to set the stage for a moderated discussion for Kyle, Evan, and I, really highlighting why Pittsburgh is ranked so highly as a life sciences hub, and what the opportunities are for you as entrepreneurs, as innovators, as corporate real estate corporate research experts, and cluster advocates should be plugged into this ecosystem. And our goal in just a really quick hour is that by 11 o'clock, you are ready to join the life science ecosystem here in Pittsburgh, whether you're already in Pittsburgh or whether you're one of our great national partners looking for research affiliations and investment opportunities. We feel strongly that Pittsburgh is a place where you're going to get the highest return for that investment. A couple technical things before I throw it to Kyle. Just want everyone to know that not only are we recording the session for Liftoff, we're also recording for future use in helping drive conversations around Pittsburgh's life science economy. So you're going to see a little bit of behind the curtains technical handoffs and a few brief pauses. And so we thank you in advance for bearing with us as we make some of those turnovers and want to make sure that not only do we have a great discussion today, but we move this discussion moving forward. And I'll remind you after the fact, but this is the first in a 3-part session. So we'll be back on the 9th and the 19th and the 10th to talk more about the life science ecosystem. But for now, we want to dive into Pittsburgh's rise as a life science and health tech hub. And to do that, I'm going to bring Kyle Cintalopoli back on stage, and he's going to take over.
Great. Thank you, Sean. So thank you, everyone, for joining us today to hear about the life sciences and healthcare sector in Pittsburgh, the opportunities that are here, and why we've been named the top emerging hub in the United States. My name is Kyle Cintalopoli. I am the Vice President for Business and Economic Development with the Pittsburgh Regional Alliance. So today, we're going to cover what is happening in Pittsburgh and our regional economy, the strength of our life sciences ecosystem, the real estate assets that are here to facilitate its growth, why our region is so appealing for today's talent, and then we'll close by welcoming 2 of my colleagues from the University of Pittsburgh and Pittsburgh Innovation District for a brief discussion about the advantages and opportunities in life sciences that are here in Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh is home to people and places, enterprises, foundations, startups, universities, and more, all meeting the world's challenges and opportunities head on. We are a region that's home to innovative people and companies. We are open to others, and we are about growth and invite you to build something remarkable here. So the Pittsburgh region is made up of 10 counties when you hear us talk about it today, with a total population of 2.6 million people. Our workforce is 1.3 million, and we're a place that's incredibly affordable to not only the millennial population, but the broader population in general, with a median home sales price of $155,000. And this all comes to you in a region that's within 500 miles of half the population of the United States and Canada. Now, because this is our moment, we believe firmly that it is your moment too. And we invite you to be a part of it. Here you will be part of a top emerging US life sciences hub, a leading innovation hub and emerging global startup ecosystem, top city for STEM professionals, and a growth market for the creative class. Our regional economy and our vision for its future is one where fast-growing, deep tech, research-driven companies are growing in Pittsburgh across a host of strategic sectors. This includes avian robotics, energy, manufacturing, all aspects of tech, headquarters, logistics and transportation, and where we're going to focus our time today, life sciences. Life sciences healthcare ecosystem here is one where technological excellence and leading healthcare innovation make us the top emerging hub in the United States. The foundation of life sciences and AI research and development at top tier universities and two major hospital systems that are driving commercialization, the Pittsburgh region is poised for investment. As you may already know, but if you don't, you can see from this slide, our region is receiving attention from national publications, trade journals, and the site selection community for what is happening here in life sciences, from startups to corporations, R&D collaborations between academia and the private sector, and the strength of our ecosystem more broadly. The life sciences industry and healthcare industry's presence here are robust. As you can see on the slide, we have over 150 regional life sciences companies. And over the last 10 years, there's been 237 company expansions. There's 6,000 plus people employed by global companies that are here, from Mylan to Thermo Fisher Scientific, Zoll, Bayer, Philips, and Smith & Nephew, to name a few. And we're fortunate in Pennsylvania to have Life Sciences PA, which is a statewide trade association, advocating on behalf of the life sciences industry with over 800 members. A few examples of companies making recent investments in our region include Crystal Biotech, who broke ground just this year on a $90 million, 100,000 square foot manufacturing center in the Pittsburgh International Airport corridor. This represents the largest biotech investment in our region today. Philips Respironics, who was founded in Pittsburgh as Respironics and then acquired by Philips in 2007. We are now the headquarters for Philips Sleep and Respiratory Care. They employ over 1,750 people in the region and recently broke ground on a new office facility in Pittsburgh Bakery Square, which is set to open soon. And then Holomics, which is a division of Predictive Oncology Incorporated that improves the outcomes for current and future cancer patients using a knowledge and AI-driven approach. They've recently partnered with UPMC Magee Women's Hospital to analyze the genomic and drug response profiles of women with ovarian cancer. While we are an emerging life sciences hub, Pittsburgh has long been a powerhouse for life sciences and healthcare research and development. This is really the foundation given by our academic anchors. We're in the Pittsburgh Region, we're home to 88 regional universities and post-secondary institutions, which produce an extensive talent pool. In the life sciences space, this is really buttressed by Carnegie Mellon, Carle University, Duquesne, and of course, the University of Pittsburgh, to name a few. We were excited just this past year for Duquesne University to announce they're going to launch a new college of osteopathic medicine in 2023. Now, all of these universities across the region are producing tremendous talent pool. And in particular here, we're calling out the over 15,000, nearly 500 degree completions that are happening in healthcare, life sciences, biomedical, and biological science degrees. The institutional anchor and the powerhouse really behind a lot of this is the University of Pittsburgh, which we'll hear more about in the discussion later. But as you can see, they're top 10 nationally in both NIH funding and expenditures for life sciences R&D. Just in 2019, have received nearly $550 million in NIH grants. They're globally renowned for research in immunization, transplantation, and neuroscience. And of course, we all know that Jonas Salk invented the polio vaccine at Pitt in 1953, which is particularly pertinent given the conversations happening today around vaccines for the COVID-19 pandemic. The Innovation Institute provides funding and commercialization support for Pitt innovators in order to ensure that the commercialization efforts and start successful. And the Human Engineering Research Laboratories, better known as HURL, and the work of Dr. Rory Cooper and his team partner with the Department of Veterans Affairs to do really groundbreaking, life-changing work, advancing engineering and robotics in clinical research and medical rehabilitation. And on this slide, you can see over $1 billion in R&D just across life sciences and computer sciences at Pitt and Carnegie Mellon, respectively. Now, it is undeniable that this research and development provides Pittsburgh with a competitive advantage. There's 4 examples here from the NIH Human Biomolecular Atlas Program, which is a partnership that's happening via the Pittsburgh Supercomputing Center, jointly led by Pitt and CMU, which is university collaboration, creating a 3D map of the human body down to a single cell level. 3D map of cell nuclei, which Carnegie Mellon is leading a multi-institution NIH research center to develop another 3D map, but this part-time focused really around the cell nuclei. This was just recently announced last month. We are advancing surgical devices and systems. The Creates Lab at Pitt draws together world-renowned expertise in robotics, surgical technique, and healthcare technology to advance the growing surgical device and systems industry. And then just this past 2 months ago, the University of Pittsburgh announced another partnership where they're working on a regenerative eye treatment innovation with Astellas Pharma who has a presence in over 70 countries to apply a gene therapy approach to research on regenerative eye treatment. This work leads to opportunities for commercialization, as evidenced by the over 1,000 patents that are happening across the region from 2013 to 2018 in healthcare and life sciences. And what innovative companies and startups find here is an ecosystem vested in seeing them grow, that is ready to support them in any way and attracting more and more investment as a broad ecosystem. You can see by the $3 billion figure that was invested in startups just last year, which represents a 7-fold increase since 2010. Specifically for life sciences startups, there are a number of support organizations here to ensure their success. This includes Innovation Works, who's the largest seed stage investor in southwestern Pennsylvania and one of the most active in the country. A recent partnership that they announced with Allegheny Health Network to form Alpha Lab Health, which is a specific life science accelerator that's happening just outside of the city. InnovatePGH, who you will hear from later, and they are a next generation public-private partnership built to accelerate Pittsburgh's status as a global innovation city with a particular focus across those sectors that include life sciences, AI, and robotics. LifeX Labs, who's another life sciences accelerator and incubator that has recently expanded wet lab facilities, providing the regional life sciences community with support, resources, and ecosystem connections. And the Pittsburgh Life Sciences Greenhouse, who's an investment firm supporting regional life sciences and entrepreneurs, and they've been doing so since 2002. We are also fortunate to have two top-tier healthcare systems in the region that are so heavily involved in healthcare innovation. This is demonstrated by partnerships that UPMC and UPMC Enterprise, their collaborations with the University of Pittsburgh, the AHN partnership with Alpha Lab Health that I just mentioned on the previous slide, and the drive behind the UPMC's 3 new specialty hospitals that represent $2 billion in investment for vision rehabilitation, heart transplantation, and cancer treatments, and the $1 billion+ in investments in hospital expansions that the Allegheny Health Network is doing, and in particular, their flagship cancer center at Allegheny General Hospital. Apologies. What companies will find here are tremendous real estate assets that can ensure the growth of our life sciences ecosystem. The numbers here on the screen speak to what's available across the region, not just in life sciences, but office, industrial, and flex space that really position us to grow as our regional economy continues to do so. On this slide, you'll see in the gold are developments that are coming soon in the future or are underway. And in the blue, really speak to the strength and depth of the life sciences developments across and around the city. Today in particular, we're going to focus in the Oakland area and Hazelwood Green to give you an overview of assets that are available there. But as you see, there are many across the entire city. For those companies that are participating today, we do also want to call out the Pittsburgh Central and Greater Oakland KIZ, which provide those companies with particular tax benefits for locating in those areas. You'll see much alignment with what's happening both in these life sciences clusters, as well as infrastructure investments to ensure their connection, such as the BRT lines that are shown there and scheduled to get underway soon. So this map focuses in on the area that you saw highlighted on the previous map in blue for Oakland and the life sciences cluster in and around our universities. As you can see, from the slide, there are a lot of existing assets with UPMC McGee Women's, University of Pittsburgh's Biomedical Science Tower 3, UPMC Presby and Montefiore, and then the universities themselves, just in Oakland with Carlow, the University of Pittsburgh, and Carnegie Mellon. The projects that you see in gold are those that are either nearing completion soon or will be underway. Those that will be nearing completion soon or are done include the Riviera and the Pittsburgh Athletic Association. The 5051 Center Avenue is a project that's being brought to Pittsburgh by Wexford Science and Technology. The national developer has recently entered the market. And this will represent another opportunity where Pitt and UPMC are leading innovation and taking space as primary tenants in that space, but also allowing other life sciences companies to join them to encourage that continued innovation in and around the Oakland Center. With the Innovation Research Tower, 3440 Forbes, we're going to have even more space coming online for businesses to locate in and around the innovation district to ensure that that innovation in the life sciences space is happening in a way that's close to and fed by our anchor institutions and the hospital systems in Pittsburgh. Hazelwood Green is a 178-acre site that provides ample space for our life sciences and other innovation sectors to grow into a development that is really a natural extension of the activities, as you can see, that are happening in the south side Pittsburgh Technology Center, and incredible proximity to Oakland. What's happening on Hazelwood Green and investments that are underway on the site already is Mill 19, which is an innovative building and renovation that's happening inside the structure of an existing or a previous steel mill. There's companies that have located there already in advanced manufacturing and autonomous mobility, and in the roundhouse, GSV Labs has recently announced that they're going to be locating there. The neighborhood that's adjacent to it in Hazelwood is also seeing increased investment through their local community development corporation, Hazelwood Initiative. Those investments underway include Gladstone residences and continued investment in the 2nd Avenue Business District in order to ensure that the neighborhood is benefiting from the investments that are going to be happening at the Hazelwood Green site and the growth of our life sciences sector that will ultimately happen there. And for companies that are growing here, or those that plan to join us, you and your talent will find a community where you can live more, and where you are able to not only enjoy your work, but love your life outside of it. The Pittsburgh region really does offer something for everyone. The rankings here illustrate the attractiveness of our region for today's talent on a package that remains relatively affordable with a median home sales price of $155,000. As I mentioned, the region does truly offer something for everyone. This includes tremendous natural beauty, and both built and those that you find naturally occurring. Acres of public parks, the proximity of a park for 91% of Pittsburghers, and 400 miles of biking, hiking, and walking trails. A booming culinary scene and nightlife that has received national acclaim, but all in a package that remains completely authentic to this place and the culture that it's created. Exciting arts and culture. We are actually not ranked #1 in direct spend on the arts. Our cultural district has $1 billion annually in economic impact. There's 15,000 performance annually in the cultural district, with 32 world-class museums and 30 concerts. As everyone knows, we have a winning sports culture, where we are home to 16 championship titles and counting. We've been named one of America's best sports cities by a host of publications. And for those that want to participate in sports themselves, the Pittsburgh Sports League provides 20,000 adults the chance to play 15 sports. So for those who would like to join us in building something remarkable here, and anyone who is already here doing so and interested in expanding, we'd love to work together and ask for you to contact us. Here you'll see the contact information for my colleague, Patty Horvitich, as well as myself, and we look forward to working. Now I'm excited to introduce two colleagues who are helping to shape the future of the life sciences sector here. Evan Facher, who is the Vice Chancellor for Innovation and Entrepreneurship and the Director of the Innovation Institute at the University of Pittsburgh, and Sean Luther, who's the Executive Director at InnovatePGH. Sean, turn your camera off. There we go. Well, thank you both for joining us for the conversation today. In that overview, we touched on a number of different things. Evan, but Pitt has long been a powerhouse for life sciences research and innovation. But there's really been a recent effort to push and focus on commercialization. This includes high-profile efforts like LifeX and the Innovation Institute, which we mentioned during the presentation, but it goes all the way down to the granular level where you've had to refinance buildings in order to facilitate opportunities in partnership with private industry, both here and outside the region. So Evan, I'd love for you to take an opportunity to kind of speak to everything you and your team are doing, but then also how you see this increased business investment in the region and what opportunities exist for corporations to partner with the University of Pittsburgh on this commercialization efforts and just general research and development.
Thanks, Kyle. I appreciate the opportunity to touch on the subject for a little bit. So I think as you indicated earlier, Pittsburgh has all the elements to make life sciences an economic powerhouse for the region. We have a unique combination of universities, medical schools, healthcare systems, and we do have this underlying growing technology and innovation sector. So what you mentioned before, in this small 1.7 square mile area of Oakland, we have over $1 billion plus in research and development between Pitt and Carnegie Mellon. And from a state perspective, from a Commonwealth perspective, that's about 30% of the total university R&D for the entire Commonwealth is in this small area. So I think what we have that other regions don't have is a significant density in the number of ideas. So in that 1.7 square mile area, you have Pitt, Carnegie Mellon, and UPMC. So just to provide a little bit of background quickly on the three of those groups, as you mentioned, from a life sciences perspective, Pitt is in the top 5 of all universities in the US for the amount of NIH funding. If you look at total research funding, we're 7th in the entire US. Carnegie Mellon has a reputation that folks certainly know pretty well as a leader, #1 university in computer science and AI and robotics. And UPMC is top 7 healthcare system in the entire US. We, with UPMC, are actually the largest academic medical center in the nation. So in this tiny area where you can walk from one place to the other, you have a huge amount of ideas and innovations occurring. So from a Pitt perspective, we realized that being an anchor in developing intellectual property itself is really not enough. We have to make sure that we have systems in place that allow for translation of those ideas to third parties that can take them and make products and services of them that can get to market. So what we've done specifically is we've created this Office of Innovation and Entrepreneurship that I oversee. And there are really 5 nodes to that, but I'll just touch briefly on kind of the most important ones from a commercialization perspective. So one is the Innovation Institute, which houses our technology commercialization capabilities, managing the university's intellectual property portfolio, doing all the licensing for the university, new venture creation. Pitt spins out between 15 to 20 new companies a year. We do 130 to 160 transactions a year based on university technologies. We receive between 85 and 100 new US patents a year alone. So we are now from a technology transfer perspective, we're in the top 10, top 15 of all universities in the United States from a commercialization of technology perspective. But inside of this overall office, we also oversee industry and economic partnerships. So we've put the group that serves as the gateway to the university for large scale industry partnerships, be it with companies like the big pharma companies of the world, or be it with the largest VCs that exist out there. We have an organization that's specifically focused from a business development, those at scale partnerships. And the third piece I wanted to mention is this organization called LifeX that you touched on before, which is it's a separate entity from the university, but the university was involved with standing up this life sciences accelerator. So inside of LifeX, we do all the acceleration opportunities. We have incubation space, we have programming, we do convening, so that if a large pharma company or a VC wants to come to town, they can work with LifeX, and LifeX can then do the work of connecting with the universities, with the early stage companies, with UPMC and UPMC enterprises, so that those third parties coming to the region have a single convener that can provide them access to all the early stage opportunities that are going on, specifically inside the life sciences world.
That's great. Thanks, Evan. Some of what you mentioned with Pitt and CMU, obviously, and Sean, I know a lot of what was behind InnovatePGH becoming an organization, was this naturally occurring innovation district. But aside from sort of that spatial proximity, obviously it leads to the opportunities for a tremendous number of partnerships. You mentioned the R&D prowess of both, but through efforts like the Pittsburgh Health Data Alliance, the Pittsburgh Supercomputing Center, those really sort of manifest themselves, right, and become institutionalized. And it's not only research, but the offices, if you will, right, like your team and your counterparts at Carnegie Mellon are looking to how to, of course, advance that research, but do startup support, encourage those corporate partnerships. From your perspective, and Sean, also please weigh in. How do you see this, as a comparative advantage, not just for the universities, but the companies that you're working with, directly, and those that are here and need that access, to not just what's happening, but the talent that you have.
I think the unique thing that we have is how complementary we are with each other. So the areas of strength of Pitt are not necessarily areas of strength of CMU and vice versa. So where we have a large medical school and a significant amount of wet lab and clinical research, Carnegie Mellon really has the expertise on the AI, the robotics, the machine learning. So once you put those things together from a healthcare perspective, you really have access to one of the top few schools of health sciences in the entire U.S. and one of the top schools of computer science in the entire U.S. We sit next to each other physically. We work together tremendously. I believe that Pitt is the largest source of NIH funding for Carnegie Mellon, given the amount of collaboration that exists. So because there is really no competition between the two universities, there has historically been a significant amount of collaboration, not only at the investigator or the faculty level, but at the administrative level as well. So we do a large number of agreements on the licensing side, on the transactional side. We work together on ensuring that founders from both schools have access to all the convening capabilities, all the acceleration capabilities that are found locally. So it is, I think it's one of the things that sets Pittsburgh apart from many other regions. That kind of collegiality isn't just between the universities, it's between all of these service providers, it's between kind of local government, it's between industry partners, it's between all the folks regionally are really trying to find ways to take what we're doing and elevate that.
Yeah, and Kyle, I think that's maybe the most important thing that folks who are kind of tapping into Liftoff to learn more about Pittsburgh can walk away with. We know that most American cities the size of Pittsburgh have a great research institution, but very few of them have research institutions, the global significance and reputation of the University of Pittsburgh and Carnegie Mellon. And almost none of them have schools like that are actively collaborating and physically overlap in the way that Evan was just outlining. And I think that's really important, especially for corporate partnership opportunities. The ability for an international life science leader to be in Pittsburgh with a research office, to have research partnerships with Pitt and Carnegie Mellon at the same time, really gets to where the science economy is going globally, which is the intersection of health tech and AI and robotics. And so what you're seeing in Pittsburgh today, because of Pitt and Carnegie Mellon, are the seeds of a global AI life science revolution, of how we integrate robotics into medical device technology. Those developments are going to happen in the Innovation District in Oakland. They're going to happen in Pittsburgh because, as you said, Kyle, Pittsburgh has a history of being innovative problem solvers for the world's toughest challenges. And I think that now is the time to get involved in those research and corporate partnership opportunities, so that those firms will be on the cutting edge of those technologies moving forward.
That's great, and really a segue into what I wanted to talk about, next. Sean, I think you and Evan both touched on a lot of in the life sciences space, what's leading to recognition as a result of those efforts from Pitt, CMU, even what Duquesne's doing when announcing, the new College of Osteopathic Medicine, the branding efforts, as an innovation district, we've started to see that increased development activity that was illustrated on, the map, and that Evan talked, about with how concentrated a lot of that investment, has become from, both local and national real estate firms. They've all had a particular focus on life sciences, or are planning to have, the ability to accommodate the life sciences. And this all translates to having more opportunities for businesses and startups, right, within the Pittsburgh Innovation District and, our ecosystem more broadly. You talked about it a little bit, Sean, in terms of, what makes our innovation district unique. But what I'm interested to hear, from your perspective, especially with the involvement with the global innovation, district organizations that you participate in, what you see that makes us unique, gives us those comparative advantages, against some of those other innovation districts. And then Evan, from Pitt's perspective, or InnovatePGH, since you are the chair of Sean's board, how do you see the innovation district really influencing, what is coming out of the universities? Obviously the proximity, but, of one another, but, having those corporations and everyone there, and what impacts that has on the technologies coming out of, your schools. So Sean, we'll start with you.
Yeah, so Kyle, I think that's a really great question. And I think those of us in Pittsburgh often take for granted that we have these spectacular universities and a academic medical center in a historic, mixed use and vibrant neighborhood in Oakland. When you look at a lot of the US offerings in the life sciences space, you're talking about suburban and rural offerings that frankly make it harder to attract the top flight life science research talent and keep them in those markets. So what I think is different about the Innovation District in Pittsburgh is the opportunity to have that full kind of 3-segment offering that powers life science innovation. So you have the research anchors, you have the access to programmatic and support opportunities for corporate partners and entrepreneurs. And all of that is in this tight, dense urban fabric adjacent to a 400-acre park, sitting right on our new BRT system that'll connect you to downtown and to the exciting East End residential neighborhoods and other innovation zones like Bakery Square and East Liberty. And so it really is that urbanity and that authenticity that sets the opportunity for place-based collaboration in Pittsburgh, separate from what you'll see in a lot of other US markets. It's frankly more of a European offering in terms of its density and lifestyle amenities. But that's just one piece of what Pittsburgh provides in terms of the physical opportunities for life science collaboration. And we know that every layer and every subsidiary of life science and health tech requires a different real estate offering. And so if you are a smaller startup, or you're a corporate partner that wants direct access, walkable access to Pitt and UPMC, we have multiple hundreds of thousands of square foot of wet lab and collaboration space under construction in the Innovation District. But if you're looking for larger space and you want to be a part of a really amazing mixed use development, then we have Hazelwood Green directly adjacent to that. If you're looking for large scale distribution space, we have space at the airport in their neighborhood 91 development. This isn't a one size fits all variety of offerings that really fits any life science collaboration strategy. And I think that's going to really set the stage for a continued acceleration in the next century.
I think what I would add to the power of what Sean had talked about was when we look at how do we create a life sciences cluster, that kind of the table stakes are things that we have that are kind of top in world between the discovery research, the translation capabilities. One of the challenges that we've had historically, which is being addressed now, is really that infrastructure, that kind of that supportive research space that early stage companies or later stage companies that are looking to be in the region or be near the region haven't historically found. But over the next little while, we're going to end up with hundreds and hundreds of thousands of square feet of wet lab space that will allow not only the companies that are coming directly out of the universities to have a place to be, but they are larger scale collaborators that are looking for places to sit in from a near proximity perspective inside of the Oakland region, or kind of this scale out space that is in Hazelwood Green. And I think the other perspective I want to give folks is that despite when we look at those maps that Kyle showed earlier, if we overlay Kendall Square on top of that map, the Oakland to the Hazelwood Green size is really no different than the size of Kendall Square. So people often see bridges and they see these twisty roads and they see all these old buildings and they think this must be an hour drive from one place to the other. It's really, it's under a mile from the heart of Oakland to Hazelwood Green. And again, if you overlay the size of Kendall Square, that's really no different in size. So we have the space to grow. We are putting in the infrastructure to grow and take advantage of all the capabilities that we currently have.
Yeah, that's great. So we've talked about university corporate collaborations for those in the audience who are interested in that. All the exciting work, Evan, that you and your team are leading really in the commercialization space. The advantages that are apparent from university collaborations that exist and are happening on a regular basis, and really what's happening in the real estate market and how that can help to facilitate the growth. I think we'd be remiss if we didn't speak to the talent pool, right? That's coming out of the universities and those that have graduated, and we often hear are interested in coming back. The talent that's here and really wants to stay is a common theme, and we know more and more as companies are deciding where they want to locate, where they want to relocate, or where they're going to be able to stay and grow. Talent is top of the list. So from both of your perspectives, Evan, obviously with Pitt in the London life sciences space, the talent that you're producing on an annual basis. But Sean, again, as I think about the other markets, the other innovation districts that you're regularly in touch with, and more broadly from the talent pool, as we talk to companies and what we hear from them. What do you really both kind of see that our extensive talent pool, that we touched on, those 15,500, annual graduates, plus what else is coming out of, the 88, regional universities, the 140 plus students that are here every year, 140,000 plus students that are here every year. What does that talent pool mean, not only for the region, but companies looking to expand, and relocate? Evan, if you want to start. And then
I'll start quickly, and then Sean certainly has a lot more of the day-to-day expertise in this area. But if we just look at it again from a Pitt perspective and from a life sciences perspective, that nearly $1 billion of research that we have, 70% of that is life sciences. We have 25,000 undergraduates, 10,000 graduates, 6,000 faculty members. So just in kind of in those numbers themselves, there's a huge number of folks that are kind of from all ranges are getting significant expertise and working in world-class laboratory settings, all the way from basic labs all the way through our Center for Vaccine Research, which is kind of in the center of all the COVID-related work. We have BSL-3 laboratory. So we have a tremendous range of talent that we're developing on campus across all the elements of life sciences, from the bioengineering side to the kind of more traditional laboratory science side of it. Again, at Pitt, a large portion of students are from kind of the broader region. We certainly have a collection of international students and whatnot, but we do pull, given that our affiliation with the Commonwealth, we do pull from a large number of folks that this is their home. This is near where they are, where they grow up, and a place that they would like to stay when they're done with their schoolwork.
Yeah, and importantly, a lot of them do. Kyle, you mentioned 15,000 graduates. That's just a portion of the 160-some thousand college students that are in our 10-county region. The majority of those folks stay in the region after they graduate, and so we have a built-in entry-level pool. And as Evan said, not just at Pitt, but in all of the colleges and universities, that's a broad segment of technical offerings, everything from 2-year programs at our community colleges, specialized nursing degrees at places like Carlow and Robert Morris University that are tailor-made for industry partnerships, all the way up to PhDs in vaccine research at the University of Pittsburgh and elsewhere. The other thing that I think is really important is that, we are bringing folks into the region. Pittsburgh actually has one of the largest foreign-born in-migration stats, the highest education attainment for those in-migration stats. And people are coming to Pittsburgh because it is a great place, not just to work, but to live. Kyle, you touched on this, the ability to make an impact in this community, to feel like you're a part of this community, whether you grew up here or not. And frankly, to have these urban East Coast style amenities with top flight restaurants, quality mass transportation, a park system, and an outdoor recreation system that are really equivalent to cities much larger than Pittsburgh, but in a package that's more fun, more accessible, less stressful, and more resilient. And so what we're seeing is not just that college student pipeline, but also corporate partners who are able to take advantage of Pittsburgh's proximity to the East Coast in a more affordable, more attainable package. And I think that's really important as we talk about what our talent pipeline looks like.
Great. I really want to thank both of you for joining the conversation today. I think we provided folks not just the overview from the deck, but some on the ground level insight that you both are really uniquely positioned to provide. So I want to thank you, for taking the time this morning.
Yeah, thanks, Kyle.
Thank you, Kyle.
Great. Thank you so much, Kyle, Evan, and Sean, for joining us today. I'm Megan Butler, and I'm a part of the Liftoff PGH team as well. We hope to see everybody in the audience back here next week on Wednesday at the same time for part 2 of the conversation. And I also wanted to highlight a session that we have coming up in just a few hours, actually in just about 1 hour here. Today at noon, we're actually partnering with Council, one of the local stakeholders highlighted during today's conversation, and their business as usual webinar for Liftoff PGH. We're hosting a series of webinars this week and next week called Generation Fempreneur to highlight local female entrepreneurs and innovators. So today we'll be highlighting Dr. Elizabeth Wayne from CMU, who will talk about her work and research with immunoengineering and how we can actually hack cells to fight diseases like cancer and COVID-19. So thank you again, everybody, for joining today. We hope to see everybody in some future Liftoff sessions.